Morning, guys. Sunday morning. I just want to talk about risk today. Because I know a lot of you guys out there are sort of looking at things to progress or how to progress or um, looking at ways to move things forward, which are often delayed or never happen because risk cuts in. See, one of the things people say is, the people overthink it, procrastinating, blah, blah. It all comes down to risk. Everything's risk because you're talking yourself out of not doing something. Do I have enough information? Do I not? Do you have enough info? Is this the right path? Do I think I could do this? Have I got risks here where, if I start this, how do we survive as a family? Or it's all risk. Everything's risk. Now, you probably noticed for the last couple of months I've been reading a lot of books, researching a lot of information, absorbing like a sponge. But here's a key thing to that. You then cut it off. You do not sit there for the next year doing it. You absorb as much information as you can, and then you've got to make a decision. Either you're going to do it or not do it. This is why a lot of people, when you watch some of these more masculine business type things, they'll talk about the fact that a lot of people just don't get past the research phase. And it's true, because within that you'll get contradicting information. You'll get what's a good example? Like with dieting, you'll say people, this is the way to do this is the way, and somebody else will contradict it with another way. Reality is they may both be right or may both be wrong, or combined they may be right. Reality is you've got to make a decision. You've got to make the decision to move forward. You've got to start putting a timetable on this. You've got to start focusing on the end goal, not the information. The information is only to get you started. So, like myself, I'm coming to the end of the information phase. AI's popping up. Me and Carlos have been talking about AI with different things that have gone out there. Gotta admit, AI could jump a few steps when it comes to sales stuff and getting some decisions and thoughts in there by getting the AI to do your thinking for you. But it doesn't matter if you're not willing to make the next step. That's the reality. It could give you the best idea in the world, but if you don't put it into action, it's going nowhere. In fact, somebody will stumble across it. I mean, how many, you probably think, well, I have, and many other people I know have, where an idea suddenly appears that you had thought about before. I mean, a good one for me was actually in the Philippines, because we actually have these. They're you have a Wi-Fi router, which basically you sell like tiny data loads, like for one day, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever. And it's paid for in pesos, in the sense if it's a slot machine, you can then connect to the router, get a code. I thought about that probably 4 years. No, it can't be that. Well, probably is actually 4 years before it actually come out. Because when we were looking at ideas in the crypto markets, that was one of the ideas I come up with about the fact that there's countries like the Philippines, where you've got a large population with mobile phones, have limited access to data. There's a prime example. Now, should I invest a lot of time, a lot of effort into that? The answer is, I could have done. I could have actually touted that on the crypto markets and got them to pump money into it, because the industry was primed for it. But at the same time, I didn't. Doesn't make it right or wrong, actually, because I'm happy that actually come about, because I could see there was a gap in the market. But B, I still bought into it anyway, but I didn't invent the thing. And the other thing I'll find out in the Philippines, as soon as you develop something, somebody's reverse engineering and creating another one. So that's another reason. It's not as clean cut. Copyright isn't isn't something that's taken into account too much. But anyway, moving forward. So the point is, if you've been watching my videos, it's time you actually stepped up and started moving forward. You've got to start making decisions. It's okay to have a list of things, you know, like I have my whiteboards everywhere, but you've got to put them into action. Now, what have I done recently? Well, I've done about 10 hours in the gym this week, and I'm back to getting more into a routine. I've looked at other career options. I've looked at other business options. I've started looking at getting people to design t-shirts for us. When I say getting to, I've asked them to do it. I'm still waiting for the t-shirts to come back for the designs. I've started looking at AI technology. I've started going down the route of starting to move some of the ideas into something. I've took the first step, because see, first step is doing something. The research piece isn't even on this step. It's not on this step. You could read 1,000 books and not accomplished anything. So it doesn't even get the first step. It's the one on the concrete. It's the one where you're looking up and going, that's a steep ladder to climb. That's where you are at the information age. You need to get off that step and onto the next. You need to get to the point of, I'm off the ground, I'm on my way, I'm on my first step. So take some ideas and start moving them. And like I said, it's not all about business. It's multiple things. So for example, rejoining the gym and then doing a couple hours a day in the gym, going in at different times, walking in the park. This is not only relating to fitness. You find that your energy goes up. You find that like walking in the park is good for clearing your mind and thinking. So they sort of tying together, because it's very easy to sit and watch a TV. It's very easy to sit and just vegetate. Society is built that way. They want you to vegetate. Now, an important note here as well is most of the smartest people out there don't progress things. That's reality, because they overthink them. When you look at engineers will think of every reason to do something and what the risk is. They overthink it. They don't go, jump, and I'll work it out on the way down. But this is that stage. That's the leap. A lot of the time, you're better off with a lower IQ level, simply because you don't overthink it. You just do it. And that's where you find a lot of the business and venture successful people out there. It's not always about intelligence. It's not always about being smart. It's often the fact they've just took the jump. And because I'll tell you now, it's surprising how quickly something evolves, even if you're not driving at 100%. I'll give you an example with the call center. The call center was literally some documentation I brought back from the Middle East that needed transcribing. It needed converting into Excel spreadsheets from paper. That's where we thought, okay, well, we'll take some of the computers that we got from the internet cafe and we'll start a call center. Well, I'll take the budget I'm making off the paperwork and we'll just try being a call center. Now, bear in mind, what was the driver? Do I know how to call centers? No. Do I know how to get the work in? No. Have I ever worked in the industry before? The answer is no. The driver is sustainability in the Philippines. So, first thing we did is my wife knew some people up the road that started their call centre. We went and looked at how theirs worked. And that was it. We started. It wasn't even an industry I was in. It's probably made it easier. Now, don't get me wrong. my intelligence piece cut in when it come to programming the servers, because instead of paying $200 a time, which the guys wanted, I locked myself away for a month and learned how to program them. But reality is, it was an industry I wasn't in, wasn't familiar with, had to learn it from scratch, and we made a lot of money at it. Now, don't get me wrong, didn't run for that long, because obviously the market changed quite quickly. Because we got in when the solar market was a big thing. Where people are pumping the going green in America and UK and places where subsidised solar panels were going in, and made a lot of money. Bought the building, renovated the building, bought all the computer equipment, had a good year, and we could have carried on, but we made the move to Europe. But it all took that little bit at the beginning to go, okay, we'll try this. And we didn't even have the knowledge in it, because to be fair, it's a difficult industry because it's full of thieves. You've got an industry where a lot of them are like one band, one band, I forgot the phrase, but basically you'll have people projecting that they're a big business or whatever, but it's literally one person. It's full of like agents that say they go to American companies and say, I've got a call center with 500 people, or you've got in America you've got people that, because you're offshore, will try and not pay you. There's a lot of scam people out there. Hence, if you're in it, you've got to be on the pulse with it. Otherwise you'll get robbed blind, either by your own staff or your agents, other call centers you're working, because it's normally multi-tier. Yeah, a lot of risk in it, but do you know what? Loved it. Did all right. All the guys that worked for me were fantastic. And you probably think, well, what do you mean you would get robbed blind by your own staff? There's a lot of stuff people do. So I'm going off on a tangent. It could be down to the fact that they're skipping steps and don't really do it properly, and not actually understanding what they've done. For example, let's say processing credit card details based on sales that haven't really happened, but they're the same customer they had last month. There you go, fraud. But in their eyes, it could be just that they've just sold 5 things this week that didn't exist for 5 bonus payments, not the fact that they've committed fraud 5 times. So those are the sort of things that can get you in a lot of trouble. That's why when I moved to Europe, I mothballed it. Building's still there, computers are still there, it's all set up, ready to go. Crypto market, another one. Jay from the Real Deal channel, he rang me up about it the one day and asked me what I thought about it. I wasn't really into crypto at the time, but I could see the opportunity in the money. Went and did it for a year, and we made a lot of money out of it. Now, the point being is, those were markets that I am not in. Now, mine is more around buildings, mine's more around construction, accounting, forward planning, modelling, financial models. And you can probably see that I probably would overthink my own background. And that's reality, yeah. Because it's supposed to be risk adverse. It's supposed to work out where the risks are. So trying to build a business around it is quite difficult unless you're just a direct consultant with nothing else in it. So the point being is, I understand risk myself. I know that the risks in the type of stuff I deal with, it affects entire companies or governments even. In some of my budgets, my biggest budget over predicting the lives of buildings was 600 million pounds, not dollars. 600 million pounds across 30 contracts. trying to work out to make sure that the money that's allocated for every single thing for those buildings will last as long as 25 years. Make sure the budgets and the bits and pieces in the building, from the air conditioning to the windows to the doors to the flooring, will last 25 years and beyond in many cases. So, point being is, I understand that's probably not the best industry for me to focus on, because I will try and find every little thing to cover every base. There'll probably be somebody more successful selling something in there with little to no experience, because they can see this bit. They don't understand the bigger picture, where the impact of this can have on a later day or whatever. So yeah, I get it myself. But the point being is, that's why I'm looking at t-shirts, I'm looking at AI, I'm looking at different options out there that are going to probably be predominantly online, because I can operate from Spain. I can do so many things without having to physically be there, because that's the whole point, is trying to get myself some either full remote or partial remote, but with something that's worth running, or full throttle for 3 years and then sell it and out, and then go and do stuff I like doing instead. But the whole point is, risk is where it starts. Realize if you're sitting there reading a lot, absorbing a lot, and you've done it for more than 6 months, you need to move on. You've got the information. Get a little pot together, and I'm not about weed, I'm talking about a pot of money, and start getting one of your ideas running, or start focus on the idea. You've got the information. You've already studied that. You studied it. You studied it. You studied it. Because once you start your idea going, it starts doing this. It starts progressing. Once it progresses, you'll find there's bits in there you'll have to study again, or, oh, I didn't think about that. And you start researching it. But you've got your path. At the moment, you've probably got no path, because you're not 100% what you're doing. It's time to progress it. It's time to actually move it into making a venture, whatever it is. Whether, like I said, it could be dietary, in the sense of it may not be a business. You may just want to get extra fitness. It could be starting your own business. It could be your next step in your career, because you've studied it, but now it's time to put it in action. There is no waiting. 6 months is too long. If you've been doing it for 3 months, that's about time to start moving on and start moving into the next stage. Be interesting to see if anybody's actually done anything where you've sort of switched off. Like I say, switch off from, oh, I'll just watch more YouTube videos, or I'll just read another book. Switch all that off. You've got everything. Because if you haven't got it now, reading another 10 books or whatever, it's not going to fix that gap. You've just got to move it forward. And once it moves, you'll start researching on the fly. So, it's a bit like with Python. I haven't had time to research Python. I know it's got a lot of uses for me. But the thing is, I start progressing the ideas, I'm suddenly going to get to a point where I need it. And I can either pay somebody to do it or do it myself. And it'll probably be a mix of the two, because I'll pay them and learn at the same time. Because part of the things for me is understanding it. This gets back to the overthinking, overcomplicated bit. Because you'll look at a lot of the people out there, they may not understand every part of their business, but they know somebody who does. Now, for me, 100% behind that, but at the same time, I'd like to understand the other parts as well. So it's always worth me, even if it's like at a beginner level, if you can understand how something is done, but also the possibilities of what it's capable of. Those things are important, but I'm not reading it now. I'll come back to that when I need it. It's time to move on. Thanks for watching.